Okay. Let's see here. I guess I should share this stuff, right? What am I doing? One moment. Okay, 6 of you is in here. Maybe give it a minute or two. Hello, Cindy. How you doing? Perhaps you can enlighten us. Linda, Nikki. No. An hour and a half, Julia. An hour and a half. You got to take the break out. Can't be. I don't know. Not me. I'm not in those shoes, but I probably wouldn't be happy if I was the Beaton O'Brien families right now. Howdy again, Countryside, Nosy Scotian, Glen B, Linda McDonald. You cannot find it. Okay, I put it in the links or whatever. The box below has the statement. Sure, maybe it'll be good. You guys pick up on something. I'll try and read your comments as we go, too, a little bit. I'm not very good at this multitasking garbage, but I guess that's why God made me a man. All right, so $49-page statement. So it's probably going to be a long one. February 7th. 2022. So just before the start last month. And this is the only interview listed for the Thibeaults collectively. Excuse me, as a couple. I should have linked, the article also, my feeling, I'll put in the chat right now. Give me one moment. All right, this is the, I don't know if it's been updated version. Let me just check. Oh, does that come across as a link? It's friggin' huge. No, it doesn't appear that it's been updated. No, that didn't come through. Okay, so then I'm going to have to, one moment. I don't know why that link is so long. I do. Why is it so long? Oh, because it's coming from Facebook. That's why. All right, let me try this. Is that going to work? Yeah, that's there. Okay. So there's an article to for reference, and then you have the testimony from yesterday, which I think you can go and find. Just leave that with you to do, to refer back to if you want. Yeah. Deborah Kellye Thibeault. Interview Monday, February 7th, 2022 with Wayne Fowler of the MCC, Elizabeth Montgomery, in Truro. Okay. Wayne Fowler. So by my watch, it's 11:23 a.m. Monday, February 7th. I'm Wayne Fowler, an investigator with the Mass Casualty Commission. We are currently in the Truro office, and with me, Liz Montgomery. I am an investigator with the Mass Casualty Commission. Grace McCormick. I am Grace McCormick, an associate lawyer at Patterson Law. Interesting. Okay. So we had Sandra McCullough as Mr. Judge Justice McDonald referred to Sandra McCullough as being the lawyer for Kellye Thibeault yesterday. Sandra McCullough, of course, first chair for the suit against the RCMP et al. So I guess this is a representative of Patterson Law on behalf of Sandra McCullough, I would guess. Deborah Kellye Thibeault. Okay, Deb, and can I get just get you to spell your name for the record, please? Which last name? Yes, last name. Yes, it's French. It's Thibeault. Thank you. And on the phone with us, Rob Pena, Patterson Law. Great, thank you. Then I'll just slide this down a bit further, and I'll turn it over to you, Elizabeth Montgomery. All right. And just before this came on, okay, so that's referring to the recorder, we did discuss that we're going to do the audio record. I think all is agreed that that's okay. Okay? There's nodding of the head. Yes, sorry. That's okay. No. That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Redacted. No. Deborah, redacted. Elizabeth Montgomery. Yeah, with us too, we're all, Elizabeth Montgomery. Redacted. But yes, Deborah Thibeault. I'm so used to showing my card or whatever. So I guess they're IDing her or something. Some kind of form of identification, sounds like. Yeah, I know. Deborah Thibeault, yeah. Yes, it's going to be strange when we don't have to do it. I know. Perhaps it has something to do with the COVID. I don't know. Maybe you guys pass. Elizabeth Montgomery. So during the working meetings, we became aware, working meetings, okay, this is referring to the secret meetings that have been going on for a long time. We became aware that you had some information for us. And obviously, we've tried to arrange this for some time. And thank you for coming in today. I know you drove out of your way to get here today. So what I'd like to do is sort of, you had some stuff you would like to talk to us about, and then you would like to talk to us about. And then we will sort of go on from there and ask you questions if you're comfortable with that, Deborah Thibeault. Well, I wasn't avoiding meeting you. I got into, so let's just go back here and highlight. I'm going to try and do it silently. We've tried to arrange this for some time. I guess they've been working at it, but it didn't quite work out. Elizabeth Montgomery. Oh, no. I knew that. Deborah Thibeault redacted is what happened. Elizabeth Montgomery. Deborah Thibeault. Yeah. Elizabeth Montgomery. I was aware of that. Deborah Thibeault. Yeah. Oh. Elizabeth Montgomery. Yes. Deborah Thibeault. Okay. Elizabeth Montgomery. And I hope you're okay. Deborah Thibeault. Yeah. Great team. I have a great team. Okay. I know that you were a resident or were of Portapique. We're a resident of Portapique. Are you still currently? No. We had to move. You moved. Okay. We were going to move before this. Mm-hmm. Because my husband's in the military and he was going to be shipped out. And then we were changing our mind. And then all this stuff happened and we just said, okay. I thought maybe we might have been able to stay, but there was so much harassment inside. It was idyllic community that we couldn't. Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll get into that. Yeah. In a little bit more detail in a bit. So you were present, I understand, during the events. I left. You left prior to? Thank God, yes. Okay. I was there and I left. And what made you leave? I wanted to go, well, my husband had to go back to see, and I thought, well, I want to get some supplies and all that. And I was wanting to go to Costco to really stock up and come back. And when did you leave? I have to ask my husband. Was it like a long time prior to? Like so many hours before? Okay. Like in the afternoon. I would have to say, I can't remember. So you left and you weren't present. And when did you find out what was going on? I can't remember back to that day. You were coming back? So just to stop for a moment here. Passport. Okay, thank you, Salty Air. In the article, it indicated that we were coming back. The husband was shipping out, right? She says here, but in the article, the Thibeaults were on their way to Portapique Saturday, April 18th, where they intended to isolate for a while during the COVID pandemic, but a snow squall in Halifax area turned them back. The next day's forecast was better, they figure, so, quote, what's 24 hours? And then they're started getting messages. Perhaps I should read through this prior. But that Saturday night, they started getting messages from Portapique area. Where are you? Who's here? There was a sense of urgency and concern Saturday night. Sense of urgency and concern in the messages. We were hearing, quote, something had happened, Thibeault said. Things got quiet after about 1 a.m. Nobody knew what happened except something had gone wrong. Then Sunday came, and as we were getting more information, it was getting worse. By now, news included warnings of an active shooter and the fact that there had been so many victims. The Thibeaults started reaching out to neighbors and friends, making sure that they were okay, including Jolene Oliver, Aaron Tuck, and Emily Tuck, a family of 3 who were close friends. So I'm sure there's going to be phone records of that. There was no response. Tragically, they learned that their friends had been killed. Peter and Joy Bond, for instance, Thibeault describes as just the sweetest couple ever. Thibeault had no interest in talking about the shooter, but what he does want to talk about is the incredible wave of support that has been extended. So the interview sounds like it's being conducted with both of them. Okay. And so it sounds like he was on his way back to Portapique with his wife, but not so sure that's keeping pace with the statement. Now back to the statement. Like in the afternoon, I would have to say, I can't remember. So you left and you weren't present. And when did you find out what was going on? I was coming back that day. So I guess this is 18th. You were coming back. I was on my back, and then it started to snow, I believe it or not, in Eastern Passage. And it was just a fluke. And the snow never stopped me before in my life, because I live in Nova Scotia, I live in the Bay of Fundy. Okay, so it's just Bay of Fundy there too. And for some reason, my husband said, well, what's 24 hours? And I said, oh, well, that makes it, it makes a difference, 24 hours now. But I said, okay. And normally I just go through, but I had this feeling anyways. So it saved our life. So is this their only home? So tell me about your residence that you had up there. What type of residence did you have? I had 2. Okay. The first one I had was on, because I'd been there for 5 years. And the first one was on the beach on the other side where the blueberry field. I know that really well, that road, everything, because I owned half of it. Interesting. Owned half of the blueberry field? Okay, right to the beach. I had like 8 acres, maybe not. I don't know. I knew Aubrey a while there too. And I would always use that road going out. And I was always up and down, whatever. So I started there, and then Mr. Hill, okay, that's the house right next to the blueberry field. He was retired RCMP. Which it's weird, because when all this happened, I called him up and given the names of people inside, because everybody, they said, quote, there's only like 5 houses in there, and quote, and I said, no, we gave all the names. I'm getting ahead here, aren't I? That's okay. It's okay. We're going to talk about the names, and okay, I'll get off that. That's okay. So it started with the blueberry field joining on the way down. We owned the beach land down there, almost 8 acres. I know the road very well, and that's why I used it all the time. I used the way out. So you used the exit all the time. All the time. Mostly. My little black car was I had two vehicles. I had a Honda Accent. I don't know if that's just bad AI again. Hyundai, not Honda. So that will give you an idea of what the road was like. But I could go up and around some of the bumps. I've heard Hyundai Accent somewhere, maybe from Leon, for a period of time until the big truck came in, because he's the blueberry operator and he would not all the time harvest, but he also had bees. It sunk down in the roads, the dirt roads. So then I couldn't use that. I could use the SUV if I wanted to. But then, of course, after that, he started grading the road and it became better than the other road. And I used it all the time. Like all the time in my SUV. I was all through. So I knew the road and I used to take pictures of it all the time, you know? I guess she likes to take pictures of the road. I used it a lot. And plus, people around there would actually walk down in through there. So it was not hard to get onto or anything of what they said, which I told them when I called up with this stuff. But when you say you called up, who did you call? My husband called. I don't know if it was a detective or who it was, to give information, because information like who was there and everything, because they didn't seem to know the way out. Katie McDonald. We knew the way out. Yeah. And because I was looking for people and they were telling me that they were alive and they weren't. They told me my house had burnt and it didn't. Oh, it was like that. Okay. So we called up right away, okay, to fill in the missing pieces. Right away. Okay. So I'm not sure why the interview is being conducted last month. But it was like what I heard from the RCMP was nobody was communicating with anybody, and it was massive confusion. It was amazing. But I understand why. If you lived there, you would know, or So you said that you had one. What are the two addresses that you owned? You said that you owned two properties. What were the addresses? Well, off the blueberry field to the beach there. When I went to the municipality in Truro, they somehow did the road. The guy before didn't do quite right and didn't realize that there was a road there. So the address for the one would be Bayview, number 3, Bayview. Okay. So that would be where my house is on Caboquid Court. Straight down is the beach. They just continue it right on to the ocean, kind of like, and gave it number 3. Okay. even though you can come down all the way, and the fire department's like 8 minutes away, and they were down there because someone said something's on fire. They were there in a matter of minutes, so it was amazing. Now, it was marked as a fire road on a county map somewhere a long time ago. I remember seeing that right at the beginning. Okay, it's amazing. So you owned 3 Bayview and 2 Cobequid. Yes, Cobequid. Did you own them at the same time, or was it no separate times? Separate, because it was the property, the beach property, and then Mr. Hill, the retired RCMP, was getting rid of everything. I had to drive by again. I had to drive by that house, and it turns onto the blueberry field. So I got to know him. Okay. And he just put the sign on the lawn when I was driving by, and I stopped and went over and talked to him. We bought the house on a handshake. He was old school. He was really something. So you were at 2 Cobequid for what length of time? How long were you there? Well, I asked my husband, because of my short-term and long-term a bit. So there seems to be some memory thing. Not sure why the husband isn't being interviewed, but anyway, he was the one that spoke to the police. So 2015, we bought the beach property. Okay. And right after, he thinks July 27th, 2017, but I'm not so sure. I'm thinking 2016 and 17, in between there, 2016 to 17. Anyway, 5 years. Okay. And in that time, you obviously spent how much time there, you think? I lived there full time. You lived there full time. Not my husband, but I did. Okay. Because I had blank and blank, 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 blank. So my senses were heightened, right? I couldn't stand to be around much people much, because I was trying to heal. So nature is really good. So I was alone. I got there a lot. Okay, so it sounds like something. It was medical. No, nothing to dwell on, I guess. So if you lived there full time, you would obviously be very familiar with the area. And we'll get into the Blueberry Road a bit later, if that's okay. I'd like to, yeah. Just so you know, this document is 49 pages long, right? Okay. Compare that to 32 pages, I believe, for one of the foundational documents that they were going through today. So if you lived there full time, you would obviously be very, very familiar, and we'll get into the blueberries. Yeah. Sort of focus on the area. Yeah. And the community. How was it? It was a good sense of community where you lived? Mostly everybody knew everybody. I mean, I did. I had to pass down every single house to get to mine. And I'm social. So no matter what, I always mingled a bit going down the road. I just couldn't help it. It's just, I'm a people person, and would, with people, very one-on-one, like I was always have to know who's around me, because it's my background in corrections and stuff. Okay, I'm a little confused, but again, I'm not pointing fingers. Just, it's confusing. She needs to be alone, but she's a people person. I just had to set myself up there to feel safe. And I had to know who everybody was. And so I would drive down the laneway, and if people would be out, you would see different ones together, or the bonfires, sitting around. Like all the people that died, they'd be around. I'd see them all and wave to them. I didn't mix that way. Because to me, it was trouble. Because, yeah. So, and why did you feel that? Why? Yeah. Why would I sit around and drink and all that? It's not I don't drink and I don't drink. It's more for the young. I'm older. I want to stay out of that. For me, that's just my thought. I don't drink, and it's just, yeah. So you said, if my husband's not there, it's going to be trouble. Yeah. Normal. So when you say you would see this, was this like a often, like during the weekends, you'd see people together? Well, everybody was so friendly to everybody. When you drive down there, we're all in the association, right? And they're all around the same age. I would be older than they are, but they can't tell my age. And everybody wanted to know who everybody was. There are a couple of B&B down there. In there, they rent them out. I think there's another lady that's retired RCMP who rents her property out. Okay, I believe I know who that is. But everybody wanted to know who was on the property. But let me see. And Jamie and Blair. Very friendly. And they had kids. And those 3 places, they all have kids. And they all play together. So it's not unusual when you're coming down. You better go slow because they're on their bikes. Someone's in their front yard. And they all had dogs and that. So you got to know them. Yeah. And then you'd have someone like blank would, that's Jamie's son. I never talk about it. I'm not sure what that means. It's okay, and you don't have to. I see. Okay, she's talking about post. Of course, that makes sense. We can. Oh, I don't know what happened there. It's okay. I never talk about this, so with anybody, actually. I haven't talked since it happened. But he'd be selling his eggs and stuff like that. And that's how, and then you'd see them all at the association meeting, and everybody knew who lived where. Not sure who selling eggs. And then you have Aaron Tuck, and they called him Tuck, who would offer to help every single person in there. He'd actually show up to help everybody. It was amazing. He was amazing. You wouldn't know it. The person that seemed to have the least, I never forgot that. It was amazing. My limited understanding of Aaron, usually he referred to himself as Friar. That's what was tattooed across him. In fact, I was just reading a message of his yesterday. Who's this? Friar. And so there was quite a sense of community. Yes, in there. We had a Facebook group And, one time I got on there and said, look, the bear just passed through and he's on the way over to your place because you're a good cook. And that's where he goes. He used to go, and the bear used to go over there and go to the bonds. Sorry, used to go over and go to the bonds, right? Because right there, because she was a good cook there. So at the meet, we'd all laugh over it, we'd let oh, look out, there's someone down there or whatever. It's pretty tight. People wouldn't believe it, but it was. Most people had cameras. And it's kind of an interesting insertion. You kept your eye on each other, is what I'm getting. Yeah. Is that what you're saying? I always paid attention on my end, and Bjorn used to say, would you? He used to say, can you let me know what's going on down there? But I didn't always. But down on the beach, it was different from what was going on up front, right? And how do you mean? I mean, like, if we're going to have intruders, they'd go along the beach and they'd come up through that way because you could sneak up through. Whereas the front, you'd have people to go through to get to the beach. You got to go through all those houses to get there. You can't, it's harder to sneak in. Okay, that makes sense. So you mostly like your husband, would he be with you often or not very often when you were there? Not all the time, because, and plus, there's something missing there. Not all the time because, and plus, he would be staying at his brother's in Halifax if he didn't come, because he could only be so many miles from the ships and that, because they can't sail without him. He's a medical thing, and he takes care of all the sailors, everything, and so he couldn't. But he would come when he was home, and he was like doing a world tour there too at that time, back and forth. I should have brought him, but he stayed out on a lot. He stayed out of a lot of stuff because of his job. Military don't want to get involved with all of this, right? Oh, okay. Yeah. So he wasn't there. He knew the bonds and the tucks, but I knew everybody. Okay. Because I was there full time. So, sorry, I'm just sat here. I'm just going to answer one question. I'm just going to try to answer one question. That's okay. You can, I'm just reliving it, kind of like, yeah, I know. And I appreciate you being so open with us. So the sense of community is very close. How about security wise? Did you ever be in any? I know I'm from a small community down in the valley, and growing up, we'd always leave our house open, our keys in our cars, and things like that. Did you have similar? I don't leave nothing open. No, I'm not that. It's kind of person. It's always been that way. Yeah, I don't. Well, I worked in the human service field. That's all I got to say about that. Plus, I know and I pay attention to, when you go to the corner store and they'll tell you, look, we had robberies. or everybody's losing their side-by-side, or whatever, lock your doors. And when you live in a community that they rent out to the public now, some of the places are not occupied all year round. I see. Okay, so summer cottages, they're only seasonal. Then you have a lot of transients no matter what. So no, I don't do that. How about everybody else? Do you know? Some do, some don't. Okay, I'm by myself. It's different, right? So I got to set myself up. So I'm not paranoid, but I just put it up, set myself up. So I know when something's out of place. And I knew which vehicle belonged to what house because I would go around a lot. Okay. Does that make sense? It does, yes. And I didn't have a dog at the time or anything, where a lot of them had dogs, right? Stranger asking her about the dogs. But anyway, so that girl down at the end, Mallory, had a camera set up, and her pit bull or her dog, she was corrections, and she had great security there. And which address was that? Bayview. On Bayview? Right now. She sold her house before I did. Yeah. And when did you sell your house? Sorry. This is Grace McCormick. I don't know what happened here with Grace, but something. She jumped in with a sorry. That was it, she said. Maybe she had gas or something. I don't know. Deborah Thibeault. I just sold. My husband's took me out of there before we sold. Like, tried to move me into a military base. I can't right now. It's okay. But it was after the events of the 18th and 19th. It was subsequent to that you did sell. Yeah, because I had to sell. Yeah. Okay. So during the working meetings, there was some information about the blueberry field that came up. That's come up, sorry. Whether it's called the Blueberry Road, whether it's not called the Blueberry Road. So what he did, he called it Blueberry Road because he used to be full of blueberries, and then he started not harvesting like he did before, and he started doing maintenance, like unbelievable to it. And when you say he, who are you referring to? Aubrey. Aubrey? Yeah. Huxley? Yeah, and his men. And there was something about a sign. What? Or a gate. Do you know anything? Yes. About that? I always looked after it. Can you tell me about that? It's the 2 posts in the ground. And we had this like twine, like rope across. And Aubrey owned all that road, and it's private. So he has an easement across where Orchard Estate is, so he could bring his heavy equipment in through if he wanted to or whatever. When I owned the blueberry, when I owned the beach property at the time, the best way in, and I also had an easement where the Orchard Estate is across their road down to the beach. Okay, so I guess if you live on the beach, do you need the easement to go through Orchard Estates? It is a private community, but I guess the beach people are different than Orchard Estates. They're not part of it. Okay, and we always put the rope back up because it's private. It's not everyone has an easement to it, right? Mm-hmm. So you're in Orchard Estate, and where my house is on Cobequid, it goes into it looks into a field. If you were driving and you stopped, it looks into like a field. You don't realize once you get through the gate, like 2 ropes, you can go left. 2 ropes. You can go left or you can right. You don't know unless you're from there. And there was a sign when I moved there, and that it said private road, and it had a little sign on it hammered to it. So you would have to ask Aubrey if you could use it and that. But it was known at the association that it's a Bjorn called it an emergency exit. But everybody who lived in the area knew about it. Most people did, unless you were maybe a new person that didn't go up and down the roads and explore, I guess. If you kept to yourself, you wouldn't know. And you describe it as 2 roads. Can you sort of tell me a bit more about what you mean? Type of rope? They said rope, not roads, and now it says road, and then it says type of rope. It's like a thick rope across. It comes in yellow or dark, or it's that twine, so heavy you could tow with. Wait, okay. It's definitely not a tow rope. Okay, I don't know. And it was yellow, you said. No, not this time. It was darker. And you said there was 2 across, like... Well, there was, and we tied them together because someone broke it. And at the time, I'm just thinking, in my pictures there, I got like a black rope. And it's not a rope you can go and just smash it. It'd be something you'd see, like the fishermen have, like it twined all together, so it has stability. So from one post to the other, we looped it around and put it around, and it was always there. And we had like tape coming down so you could see it at nighttime. And you said you looped it over. Looped it over with what? The post. Was it just rope looped over? We tied it into, it was a military knot. Okay. Over the posts. But there was no chain. It was just no chain. The rope? No, this was very strong. And you said you said you're referencing your photos. The photos that you have we're hopefully going to get access to those, I believe. I think I sent them. Yeah, I think I did. Yeah. Okay, so the photos weren't sent until sometime just prior to the interview, and they haven't received them as of this interview. But she was taking pictures of the road and stuff all the time. Deborah Thibeault, yeah. So we'll I haven't seen those yet. Oh, so that's why I'm kind of trying to ask for a description as best you can remember. But my question is, when were those pictures taken? The ones that you, geez, the pictures I've taken are from when I lived there until right up until I'm a picture person. So they're very recent, like up until right when I get my on my property, back on to my property. Okay. This is all very interesting stuff. Right onto my property. Okay. I took pictures because the rope wasn't there anymore. The post was bent in two, like cut off, and it was right over with the rope still attached to it. Someone had drove through it, right? When was this? Right when the murders happened. Oh, like the day of, or you. No, she's not there, so I'm not too sure when she was there prior. Deborah Thibeault. No, they wouldn't let me on the property. Said I had no property, said it was burnt. When they would let us back on the property, I can't tell you the date because I have problems with numbers. So I have to write it. No, and this is not, I have to write everything down. So I totally appreciate this. Odd that they're saying the house was burnt and not allowing them on. That's okay. But my husband would remember. Good time to talk to him. They let us back in with the escort to our property. And when I got there, there was the RCMP on all over the place, set up in the fields and on our land. And I looked over because I was looking at them set up in the field there. And I was like, geez, where's the posts? And the posts, whoever drove through, broke it in two. I wish I had that video right now. Thibeault's going to fuck you up, man. I'll fuck up a car. Wow. I've got a few trucks. All right. Because we always looked after that. Anything that happened, Peter and I always fixed it again. He had a tractor. He fixed it. We needed it when we were down at the beach because there were people that from outside that still like to go on dirt roads, and they'd come in. They'd come in when we were trying to do stuff down there. And we, for insurance purposes, you don't want people to get in accidents and whatever, and then you're responsible. 100% true. And it was, so the picture what you're referencing is something you saw subsequent to being allowed back onto your property after you left. Now, what pictures are they referring to? Because they didn't receive them. That's what they said. Maybe they have something else there. Yeah, like when we got back on, we noticed there was so much going on and many people on our property, and of course I looked over there because there was people there, and I was thinking, oh, look at all these people, and oh gosh, where's the gate, right? So there's a post here and there's a post here. There's people set up over here. This is a post. This is that. The rope goes around that. When I got there, this was only this big. What? This was gone. It was over here. And how? I went over and picked it up, showed it to my husband, and it was still had the rope attached to it. When was she last up there? I guess she said 24 hours. So, okay. Okay. So I was confused because I said to him, geez, I guess the shooter drove right through. I mean, I can't prove anything. I can't prove nothing. Or was it the RCMP that drove through? It makes more sense to have the shooter because that's the way he went. And you know that how? But you can't prove it. But I believe that he went that way. We're very particular about our property and everything. And yeah. So you described that you left earlier in the day. Do you recall looking at the gate prior to leaving? Yes, to see what it looked like. It's right on my property, almost. Yeah. And was, yes. Okay, that's kind of being complete. And you saw it as you normally would have seen it prior to. I always make sure the rope's there. Okay. Always, always. Even if Aubrey takes it down, I always make sure. I always check it. I don't know, different rules out there. Find a gate down, you leave it down. Find a gate up, you put it back up. That's the way we work out here in the country. But anyway, different rules, I suppose. And it was as you initially said, yes, perfect. Okay. So it wasn't until after you came back that you saw it was different. Okay, that's helpful. That would be a lot of people that saw it. Do you have any questions about that? No? Not here, says Wayne Fowler. He's the primary investigator. Nothing that comes to mind. Back to Elizabeth. Yeah, so I'm trying to think. Is there any other things that you wanted to mention? I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything before I move into other areas. The reason we like I say, we paid attention to the gate. It's on our property almost, and it also had a lot to do with when we had the beach property. It was the gate sort of to our road, to the beach, to our beach. And we owned, starting there, all the ways down to this part of the gate side. So it was just like the previous owner had told us, just put the rope back up. So we always did, and we always maintained it. Even when we got to a new house and we knew it was right on our property, like sort of, because our line is right here and it was right here. So we were the only ones there who had only ones there full time. So we would look after it. And you said something about a sign. There's a sign. Where's that sign? Hammered into it. onto one of the posts. Yeah, actually, it had a couple. I put one there, but there was a sign, something like private property or whatever. I think, who knows who put it there? If Aubrey put it there or the previous owners. And then there was a little one here, private property, private. Was there any other signage on that road that you can recall? Do you mean like going on into Blueberry? Yeah, like anywhere along it? Was there anything else indicating that it was private, or was it yes? Was there, well, if you go through the gate, you can go down, you can go this way out, go to the beach. I put a thing up here, like, it's almost, I used to call it, I won't tell you what I called it, but it was a gate. It's a funny name. It looks like a gate of thrones or something. And it had, I put a rope across there too, the same type. Okay, is that the yellow rope or is it the dark one? Okay, and it said private, but not going up the other direction. No, it's wide up all the ways here. Everybody knew it was the Blueberry Field owner. Everybody knew it was the Blueberry Field owner. And this goes right out, and there's a loop, but it goes right out to the road, and then you can scoot across all back roads. So it's the fastest way out. No one sees you. Very fast. And how often would you see? No one sees you. Okay. Was that this, what, 10:35? Oh, no, that didn't work. Very fast. And how often would you see people driving or using that road? Oh, I see. Some people would walk there like their dogs that lived on that other loop. I saw a lady there. I saw some guys. I saw the shooter. I seen him on using that road on his bike. He had a bike. I didn't realize it was him at first. First time I had seen him with no hat. But he would use it. I see people on trucks use it. I saw quite a bit. Okay. I'm not seeing cars yet, but she said she did with her Honda accent. And right up until the days of events, it was still quite busy, even being used, still quite busy being used. Okay, what I mean by busy is that people used to walk in the morning. I didn't always see them. I didn't see them every day, but it was used. Right. For a place being out, you didn't know it. You think it's out of the middle of nowhere, but it's not. It's not. It's amazing how many, and people that lived there, and people that lived, like Lisa, she would walk around sometimes. Right? Which Lisa, I don't know. But yeah, that's what I mean. Okay, so your community as a whole, like you watched out for each other? For the most part, everybody had kids or you just paid attention. And after the event, how did that change you? I know you subsequently moved away, but can you tell me, you got to know how people projected themselves in there and how they'd get out of their cars and run down the road and run in there? Yes. And run in there. Okay. And, bring their truck in there and put a camera on top and videotape everything in there. And you're talking people, are you talking people from outside the community coming in? Yes. Okay. A lot of that, which, how did that make you feel? Traumatized, because they pull alongside us, put their window down and see us, put the brakes on, and then back up and take off. It's like we were like freaks. I don't know. Or they were surprised to see people alive in there. Most of the time, you just hide behind trees, because there's always someone coming in, and you know, okay. Or then, like, I would meet people going out to the garbage that stayed at the B&B there, and they'd come from New Brunswick or whatever. They came from New Brunswick, my apologies, or whatever, just to be in there because people were murdered. It attracted a lot of people, no doubt. I'm sorry about that. That's, people shouldn't be gawking. And I would see them, and they'd say to me, I just want to spread joy. They meant well. They meant really well. There was one really nice lady that I met, and sincere, and other people were attracted to it. And it was not unusual to see someone running down the blueberry field because they were looking at everything. They were drawn to it, Mm-hmm. And the people would come. They would want to see it. And they don't realize that there's someone still alive. And they still, and they see you, and they freak, and they slam on their brakes, and they take off. So I'd be talking to Bernie, and this would happen, and they would slam on their brakes. They would slam their brakes on and everything. Like, we would just like, what the? Because it's private in there. It's supposed to be. I thought, well, maybe we should do a tour, let people in and stuff, because they wanted to see. I understood why they did. I just didn't like them coming from the beach in dusk and coming up and sneaking in, like 6 or 7 of them on side by sides, traumatizing us and burning wood, getting in the middle, getting in the road, the middle of the road. It was like you'd hear it, the rumbling and that, and you'd just, like, I'd be in my house and hide, and then reporters would be all there and stuff like that. And I'd see people trying to take stuff out of the burnt stuff, rocks, anything, stones, anything. Then they'd see me coming, and they'd run, like, because they think someone's looking. But the commissioner saw it all. But inside, we couldn't keep people out. We had to put a big sign up, no drones allowed or anything. It just became like a circus. And we couldn't move on. We tried, like, I understand people. You had to get the police to break a laneway so we could get into our houses. Oh, that was fucking wow. But it attracted a lot of people, and some people inside didn't want anybody and nobody or nothing there. Well, that's evident. But they still got in. They came from the beach. It's amazing. I see them. No one ever saw me. I thought they ran away from you. But you would hide. Okay. It's great. I could just walk in there and be anywhere, and no one saw me. It was great. I didn't use the main roads a lot after that. I just went on the side, and I noticed some of my neighbors did the same thing. And Bernie got to see a lot down that end because they were right. They had to go by his house to come up in through, and you could hear them yelling, "Where's the murderers? Where did the murders happen?" And I'm like, wow, because all the sound we were like heightened, like, what's that sound? What's going on? Like, because you know you are trauma, and that just puts you in a spin, and you're like, the same with, like, nobody was allowed to do fireworks after that because it sounded like guns, right? So, but they didn't go up further where the entrance was. They just circled around. But it was like us right there. We were like, oh, right? What we going to do? And Bernie said, I'm going to get some apples and start firing them off, right? We couldn't keep them out. And I said, I wonder if the public knows what people are doing. Well, fuck, if people are, it sounds like a madhouse in there. I've always been like, don't go down there. Right. It was bees to honey. It's amazing. But I understand they probably thought everyone was gone, right? Maybe they just didn't realize what they were doing. Yeah. Or how it was affecting us. Like you're never had that happen before. And then all of a sudden you've got a convoy coming up from the beach. Yeah. Even at dark, there's no lights in there. No. So all you can hear is this rumbling and rumbling, right? Yeah. So yourself, and you mentioned someone by the name of Bernie as a resident that was there. How was your relationship with the residents that remained subsequent? Did you sort of sense closer together afterwards, or was it just sort of off yourself, sort of off to yourself a little bit more? Jesus, how many were left full time? Yeah, and I know. So where I was on the end, I'm in the crossroads there. So there's nobody alive full time right where I am. And the other one, he's part time. Like, so I'm just trying to think of who's still. There was Dana. He's been there forever, but he wasn't full time. But he always comes and going, and he's really tight with other people there. Ken Jeffrey owned the roads and all that. Or Keith Jeffrey owned the roads and all that. See him occasionally. I guess people own roads. I'm not sure what's going on. His friend, he was there somewhere. I'm just trying to think if there is other people, they're new. But so there would be Bernie and Mallory, and I on my going down the lane. So Mallory, I didn't see her too much. Everybody was in trauma, and Bernie would probably be the one I saw the most because he was out in his yard working a lot and stuff, and plus I used to own right behind him too, right? Mm-hmm. So really good. Was it good to have those connections still, like to have the familiarity of the neighbors that you were with before? Did it help you keep you closer, or did you find it was harder? I like having Bernie there because I could talk to him about things that didn't traumatize other people. And he is living it too. And like talking to you, and all of a sudden we have cars come up and slam their brakes on and look at us and back up and take off. And we couldn't do anything about that. So I wasn't the only one, right? Yeah. Mallory was gone a lot. I think she had blank or something. I don't know. I didn't get to see her much. They tried to get a lot of new people. It was hard to get together with COVID. I would have liked to because a couple of the others got together, but it didn't happen. But there was nobody else. I was an acquaintance with the other, but not most people I knew were gone. It was weird feeling being inside and everybody's gone. People come in and it's amazing. They'd come in and they'd want to stay there and go on how traumatized they were, but they didn't live there. They had the choice to be there, but I lived there. It was bizarre. Anyway, that's, yeah, it was hard. It was hard to move back. It was hard to move because they kept showing up, and then they'd see us, and then we'd be right back to the circle of grief and go through the cycle of anger and hyper. You couldn't get away from it. It was really hard. You just couldn't get away from it. It was like it was everywhere. And then like you'd go out and look. You'd walk. I'd walk through the road. I don't know. It just made me more aggressive. I would never, I don't know, maybe stronger. I don't know. Walk up the road and each property. But when I went to like the main road where all the flowers and beautiful stuff that people did, and if someone engaged you, you talk, you'd realize it was a reporter and you had to go because they were there all the time too, right? Hmm. I don't know. Does that answer your question? It does. Yeah, it does. Thank you very much for giving your best answer for sure. Yeah, because I just stayed away from everyone mostly, and I never talked about it because anyone mentioned something to you in the corner store, it was always like some reporter or something hanging back. And then they started to question, and then you knew, and you just kind of, because I don't want to relive it. I don't want to relive being there and trying to, because like Bernie and I were saying, we couldn't get away from it. And then Tom Taggart had to step in and tell these people and tell the people. And then, like I said jokingly, maybe we should give them a tour and show them so that so they want to know what the community, and maybe it's like where they lived, but it was really bad. And you said Tom Taggart stepped in, and did that help? Yeah, it helped a lot because he got them to clear the road and move some of the stuff so we could get to our houses without having to drive on people crying, standing there, which you can understand that. I understood why. Everything, it just gave you a different insight when you live inside. I had no idea either until this happened how it could affect somebody being living right inside there because you relive it every single day and you can't get away from it because no one will let you. Right? Mm-hmm. Nobody. You couldn't get away. You tried to. It's just like you can't breathe. So was it the part of the reason that you made the decision to move on from there? I had to move on. It was like I was stuck in trauma on the cycle. I couldn't move. I couldn't. I just like went into a freeze mode in the cycle and I couldn't get off it. I couldn't move on from it. I just froze and numb. I don't know. It's like I lost 3 months. I don't, you just, and then I have a hard time. Like I'll get over it, I'll keep going through this, but like I hardly talk about this at all. So about that, what kind of communication have you said you guys reached out to the RCMP? What kind of communication have you had with the RCMP through this when the investigation is on? Through this when the investigation is ongoing? Confusion, kind of. I don't know. We just got back to our, like, before we got to the house, we just called up and gave all the info. So I guess he did. Like the road out. I know the back roads. You can get to the highway in a matter of minutes. No one sees you. It's very fast, very easy to, when you leave the blueberry field, to scoot across and go up through the hills. Londonderry, Wentworth. You're there very fast. You're there fast, very fast. Everybody knows around there, the back ways, mostly, you have to know it. And so you shared that information with the RCMP? Yes. And we gave all the names, everything or who was there so they know who to look for and that. They kept, because we just kept getting information on people that they told us was alive. They weren't alive. They were dead. So that's why you describe it as confusion, because it was not very clear to you. It seemed like, I just wonder who the chief was, because it seemed like there were so many. It was mass confusion. And when I was at the gate, I asked a guy about my house. Did it, and they told me it burned. What gate? You drove down the blueberry field to the road? And he says they don't tell us anything. We're at the gate and nobody tells anybody anything. And that's the impression I got about the whole thing. There were so many, but there was no communication. I think it was too much. And you said you were at the gate. When would have that been? Right after the murders? It was after, like the next morning, or yeah, they sent us away. They wouldn't let us on our land. They wouldn't let us back on our land. I can remember when like the exact date that we got on our land, but you can recall being there right afterwards. Yeah, I think we were, and then we were there again, and the news. They took a picture of us. I didn't like that. I don't want them to put me in the news, to put me on the news. You know how they film the back of you? Because they sat right there with the news truck and that, and they'd see us all trying to get into our houses, our lot, our road, and they film us or whatever, or try to talk to us. Where are all these articles and stories? There are none. Shut her down. I didn't talk. My husband did most of it because I'm trying to recover from all right. And but nobody reached out to us at first. Okay. I don't remember that. We contacted ASAP with the information of the blueberry field, how you could access it very quickly, the back roads, everything. To fill in what was missing, because no one we knew for sure. And we gave the names of the people in there because it seemed so confusion. Like right away, we just wanted to know. I just got the impression they thought there was only like 5 houses. And we just gave all the names and everything. And we wanted to know about our neighbors who was still alive and that we lived on. But how are you telling people about all the names anyway? And I think he gave all his information, but I think we only got a couple of calls, so everything was dropped. Never, yeah. So your recollection is that you were the ones to reach out to the RCMP initially? Yes. And since then, like after that, there was not a lot of communications between the RCMP and yourselves with the information that you shared. So, no. There was no feedback, even on the stuff the thing that I passed in. No. No one ever seemed to. When I spoke to the RCMP in Bible Hill detachment, he told me that they had so much evidence and stuff in a room, it's just another one, just another piece. So you spoke to somebody in Bible Hill? Yeah, I did. In front of my husband. I saw the vehicles and he was standing there. And I told him where I lived and that. And I had this, because I had this thing in a bag, I didn't want to touch it with my hands or anything. You know what I mean? Like in a bag, gloves. Well, because I was wondering what kind of prints would be on that tape and that. And he said, "Oh, I'm just going to put it with the rest of the 100 whatever items we have in the back." Do you recall the officer's name that you spoke to? I don't even know if I wrote it down. I can't, because we moved, everything's in boxes. And you described this thing in a bag, you said, with tape, prints. What? What was this? It's like a big stick. It's like it's like that big, really big and heavy. And it was like, I think now I was telling you, okay. That means prior conversation, by the way. Things I thought about it. When I first told Robert about it, because it's nowhere prior in the statement, when I first told Robert about it, don't know who that is. And I thought afterwards, when he was going, he's a collector of this and that, And I was thinking, I said to my husband, you know what? You're thinking about that stick that stuck in my mind the way it was. It was consistent the whole way through. Somebody really picked out a really solid piece of wood, and it was really manicured well. And where did you find this? It's on our property. It was on your property. And how heavy and how, like, the shape of it was perfect and everything. Everything was perfect about it. It was just, I never seen a stick where the weight was totally the same before or anything. It was really interesting. So you found it on your property. Yeah. After you were allowed back onto, yeah, your property. We were building a new fence and we didn't clean up after it because we had to get off. You know, we couldn't get back to our property, and that's when we were allowed back. I don't know how to explain it. It's like pine from the tree falls down and around the ground, and it covers everything. So right by the post, we had this type of fence. I said, I'm just going to rake. I don't even know why I did that, because it sounds as crazy as it sounds. The rake, and I was trying to make it look good, really good. And I said, okay, we'll take some pictures. And for the real estate guy, I started raking. I was picking up the pieces of wood that we had left there, and then my rake hit this thing. I was like, Peter, come and look at this. Where did that come from? I don't know. So I took pictures. I said, this wasn't here. He said, that wasn't there, because we put holes in the ground and everything. That wasn't there when we left, because we had to level it out. We had to put that there. I mean, there was nothing there. When we came back, we had all this pine stuff all covering the ground, like orangey pine stuff. And so I called the RCMP. They never came. Oh. Give me 1 minute here. They never came. Okay. So then I said, well, Peter, I said, what do you want to do with that? I'm not touching it. And then I said, let's go out and make a little noise. Get our gloves and put it in a plastic bag, and let's take it in. So I called again, and I said, no one came. I'm going to bring it in. They said, okay. They told me where to go. So I put it in a bag. We didn't touch it with our hands or anything, and took it because I was curious. Like, where did this come from? What kind of print would be on the tape, So, and then we never heard from them again. Never heard anything. So it wasn't important, but it wasn't there before. So you hadn't gotten any feedback on that at all? No, nothing. Just like he said, I'll just put it in with the 100 or whatever we have now. And in the room. And still today, you haven't heard anything of that either. No, nobody came. No, nothing. Okay. Because I can only assume things I mean, I don't know. They were really busy. Yeah, okay. I just thought they were short-staffed. Yeah, the same as like everybody was, short-staffed. Do you have anything, just a couple of things from Wayne Fowler now, just a couple of things to clear my mind. You mentioned something about tape. You just picked the stick up and you mentioned tape. Duct tape. Duct tape on the stick? I think it was gray. Or was it, yes, at one end, the handle. Okay, on the handle. It was wrapped around, and I was thinking, I wonder if what prints are over this, because I had called the RCMP and I said, oh, I don't know. They said, yeah, we'll get to it or whatever, but no one ever came. No one ever, nothing. The duct tape around the handle, yeah. And the other handle, like burnt marks on the end. Burnt marks? You know what I mean? Like burnt kind of. And I said to my husband, shouldn't we let them know about this or should we not? Would they care or what? So I called in. I don't know. I said, it has to be moved. We got to move it because we can't have that here. Okay. And how long would you say it would have been? Well, about what? 16 to 18 inches? I think so. A couple of feet. But I'm not, it wouldn't be long enough to use as a walking stick. Oh no. But you could really hit someone really good with it. Okay. That's where I was going. Like walking stick versus, oh, no. This would be something I could use just to almost like a club. Yeah, it reminded me of that. I called it that because, yeah, so not as big as a baseball bat, but when you say a club, it's shorter version of a baseball bat. It was consistent, the roundness and everything. And the picture, I was saying, yeah, it was what stuck in my mind. And I was thinking, wow, what is this? I just didn't know how important, I just didn't know if it was important or not. But we didn't put it there. And it wasn't there when we left. And because we're we're very particular of what we are doing to the property, cleaning it, making soil, and making sure everything and that we know what was there and what wasn't. But it was under grass. Okay. Um, and we were doing our property, doing our line of our property. We were doing everything. Okay, what do we got here and that? And this is why I stood out so much. I always wondered what they found with that, if anything at all. And I'm just going to bring you back briefly to the blueberry field or the blueberry road, whichever it was, whichever way it was known in the community. So you lived in the community for 5+ years or so, right? Am I correct there? 5 years. 5 years. So when you resided first down on the beach property that you owned, and you said the road was pretty good, you could drive your Honda up, the Honda accent, but yeah, but not consistently all the time. That's where I'm going with it. That's what, and just trying to educate me a little bit more of what when you say not all the time. The reason I know the road so well too is because I had to use it to get to the beach. Okay, so I used it a lot more than, or I used it more than a lot of people. I would have had to sometimes put my tire in the middle of the road and go up the Blueberry a little bit, but so I didn't use it consistently, but that vehicle, because when the big trucks would come, they would, when it rained a lot, there was pot, like sink it down. Yeah, put those grooves in it, like it's driving on the highway if you get in the curb lane. Perfect. Yeah, when it's raining, but we got the muck here. Yeah. So then I had to stop my car. So people would say it would be rough if you didn't use it all the time. But then before, this was before the murders, he was doing a lot of work on the roads, and the roads were fantastic. Okay, and when you say he, who is he? I would say it would be Aubrey. He owns the whole thing. I don't know if it's in his company's name, but he's got the blueberry fields, and I'd see his equipment there. I know if anyone else was a part of that project, because there was, like other people down the end of the road that had bought the beach now, right? Right, okay. But he widened the road and taken it right to my property line. So there is no way that I couldn't pay attention to what was going on. And I had noticed that they were doing more maintenance before that, because I used the road a lot on my side by side. Yeah. And the SUV. I loved coming in that way. Four-wheel vehicles. Okay. Right on. Because my property is right there on the road, right? So I could get in and get out, and no one knew I was there. So nobody watches. I loved it, actually. I didn't have to go by anybody or anything. I just thought of it as a fast way out. It's like being invisible. But there was witnesses. Right. So you said when they were working on the road, they really improved the road. Then you can drive back and forth at like a decent speed, I'm assuming. Yeah, you could get out real fast. I used to assume probably more than anyone. I would have to say probably, because I'd just do the circle. I'd go up and then cut across the field and come back down Orchard Estates a lot. Okay, so driving in the circle. Right. And that's only, besides the entrance at, I'm going to say, the highway side, Brown's Loop, or where it comes out. The only other entrance point to Orchard Beach Estate, is right away down by where you used to live. Is that correct? From Orchard Estates, you can, like that entrance there. You also got to think about the beach. You can sneak up through the way, and come all the ways up. Well, I'm going to go to the beach next. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking. So I got to be careful. Right of way from Orchard Beach Estates toward the road. That's the entrance to get there. If that's what that's from Orchard Beach, that's the road. And that's what they call the emergency way out. It was connected with my property. That's why. Right. And then, of course, you go up to get out, and you hit that loop there. So some people might call it an entrance. I don't know. Well, that's where I was going. So that that'll be up towards the highway side. So between the highway side or the loop area all the way down to almost the beach, there was no other entrance or exits from the blueberry field onto any other side streets or side roads. There was no entrance set up, but you could, when you're coming up like the loops here, there's a property here. There's no really road, though people do shoot across on their side-by-side and come out on Orchard Beach by the garbage can, but it's not well used at all. It's only a couple of people I've ever seen do that. But an entrance, that's the only entrance from Orchard Estate, except for the beach. And now you mentioned the beach, and you mentioned side-by-sides coming up from the beach. Yeah, back up onto Blueberry Road. Where are you coming from when you came from the beach? Like Bayview goes up, there's a beach. Yeah. I got to think about my other property too, because you can, but we had built a little dike thing to stop people from doing that. But Bayview, coming up Bayview, right, there's a beach. You can go either way on your side-by-side, any way there. It's amazing how many people, I don't want to say it for the record, drive on the beach, you know? Yeah. But, so what is your question? Okay. So if you come onto Blueberry Field Road from the beach, where would people come from? Right in front of my property. Ah, so how would you get onto the beach? So are we talking about people that live in the community itself using the beach to come up? Gee, that's come up to the Blueberry Field. Or can strangers come up from the beach? Everybody around here has side-by-sides. A lot of people inside have a 4x4. Okay. So they were all, they go about their business. The public, I found, that's people that don't live in here. I'm going to say them because if I see someone I know on a side-by-side inside, they live there. Right. But the other ones that would drive along the beach, I was trying to figure out where they were coming from. And Bernie said they were coming down the beach. They were coming in packs of 3 at a time. They were driving down on the beach when the tide goes out and then cutting up in through. Okay. Coming up over the beach and joining on to the roads. And then they'd circle around and go back the way they came. Okay. So, like, I look at the maps quite frequently of the area there, and I'm just, because they wouldn't be coming from the riverside unless you lived in that community. There's no access to the highway from the riverside. Am I correct? There's not. Yeah, but we were thinking, like Bernie said, he thought it was from there's cottages down there, farther down, sorry. And there is trailers now that have a place across. I think they call it Highland Village right off, and you have Great Village, and then it goes to Highland Village, and then you got Portapique. Okay, there's a lot of cottages along there pushed back by you can't see from the road, and there's only And sorry, there's also a bunch of trailers that are there now on the hill across from that farm. That farm. Okay. So he was trying to figure out if they were all part of that group coming up. Right. Because it makes, like you have to drive quite a bit to get to where we are on the beach, which you can do. It's easy to do, right? Yeah. As long as the tide is out, it has to be. And you have to keep right up to on the shores. And it's hard ground. Yeah, it's very easy. I've seen some trucks do that too. Oh, yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing what you see. And I'm like, I just can't believe I seen that big pickup truck on the beach there, like just cruising. I'm like, sometimes it's better if you don't know the laws, Yeah. I'm like, get off the beach because they're going to run over you. But yeah, okay. But where I'm going at, there's no real direct access where you are coming down a side street and then you drive right around to the beach and you're kind of going through properties or trailers or whatever, some of those properties along the beachfront. When you're coming Orchard Estate, yeah, and say you're going straight down, it's like an intersection when it goes all the way straight down and you could see the ocean. It's like crossroads, like you got the Cobequid and straight is blank property. Sure. Blank property. The marsh and his trailers, and then of course the bonds, and then there's me and the blueberry field. But right in front of my door is looking straight to the beach, Bayview. Right. So most of the people didn't go across blank property. They'd go in front of my house and straight down to the beach. We all had access to the beach. Right. When I mentioned outside that area, farther down along the beach, going towards Great Village, say I'm not familiar. I would just come across anything that likes a main street, or am I going to call it a main street, but a decent road bringing you to the beach. You got to go to the beach. You got to go on the beach, or sorry, you got to go on the beach. You got to go on the beach. When the tide is out, it's easy as pie. They came all the ways down from Economy or whatever and scoot right up. If you got to know the tides and do it fast, of course. It's not hard to do. I see them. Okay. That's what I'm just trying to straighten. I'm just wondering in my mind. Yeah, I don't know exactly where they came from, but they were really cruising. Yeah, it's interesting. I wish I would have filmed it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know who might have a film of that? I don't know. It might be Valerie. Might have it on hers, since her house is in the front of the ocean. She has cameras and would see what's going by. She might, them going up the road. I don't know. But Bernie and I saw them coming from the beach. So just going back to when I think you mentioned Was your husband that called the RCMP pretty early on? Are you able to give a guesstimate? It was like occurred on the night of the 18th into the morning of the 19th. He can tell you. I can't, because I had to write a lot of stuff down then, right? Right. Do you remember when you attempted to get back onto your property? Right away we did. The following morning, or are we talking about a day after? Next morning, next week? Too late now. We started that night and we turned around. The next day we were going down and they wouldn't let us on the property. That's all I know. Okay. And then how long was it that you attempted to bring or brought this club or stick to Bible Hill Detachment? I called them first. What to do with it? Right. I can't give you a date on anything like that. My husband could. Okay. And I just know that I just wanted to know what to do with it. Should I throw it away or what? Just leave it there? I just felt it is important. Is it not important? It's not mine. It's not my husband's. It wasn't there before, and I can tell you why it wasn't there. Yeah, it wasn't laying on the ground. You know what I mean? Like on top of the ground. You know, I raked and I hit something, and I'm thinking, well, what's that? And then this is when it, right. So I don't know. Nothing seemed to be important. Didn't seem to want to know. But, they're trying to figure out RCMP stuff. Well, our house was an RCMP house, right? And nobody seemed to care it was broken into. Mr. Hill said they took some stuff, and nobody seemed to care about that. So when you finally got back in onto your property, were you present when the RCMP were doing ground searches in the area? Not sure where the break-in happens here. That was an old RCMP house. Mr. Hill. But not sure where the house break-in quite is coming from. They hadn't finished when we got there. They were still in our yard and stuff. Okay. I was talking to somebody. I can't even remember who he was. And they were like so traumatized by, like everybody was. I don't even know that guy was. Yeah, they were everywhere. Everybody. We just finished our land. All right. Because Bjorn said he thought he put a bomb on it or something. He didn't trust him or anything. And he knew him very well. So did Dana. Dana knew him very well. They were good friends. That's all I have. That's all I know. I don't know very much. No, it's very helpful, though. It's very helpful. Just a quick question about the road again. Was the difference with the Blueberry Field Road in the weather, if it was during the winter or fall or spring? Can you describe that at all? You want to know how passable it was. But see, it's really maintained very well. it's not like how it was. So like I was saying, it's better than our regular road. We had potholes or whatever. That didn't. So it wouldn't have mattered the season? No, not it's changed. It would have mattered before because you'd have the ground sinking in and everything, but the roads then maintenanced. It's got smooth gravel and everything. It's like it makes you wonder what when you see the road like that, you think a bunch of people live on that road. That's how nice it was. I kept going on how much better it was than the main road because we had so many potholes and we argued over who was going to fix the road. But my Blueberry Road is what I called it. It was perfect. It was gravel, smoothed out. He moved everything up to the line, widened the roads and everything. It was a really great job. Ooh, I'm having memories of video. I'm having memories of video. Whew, that's a long time ago. Elizabeth Montgomery. And just to clarify the naming, is it a road that's actually labeled as Blueberry Field Road, or is it known as Blueberry Field Road? I don't know what other people call it. I know when I talk to anybody down there, I call it the Blueberry Field, the Blueberry Road. Sorry, it's not my blueberry. Like the Blueberry Field is what I call it. I think it's Blueberry. How did you get that? Blueberry Field Road there. That's having a difficult time with English. How did you get that? Right. What I'm asking, is there any kind of signage that indicates the name of it? No, because it's private. It's not even a road that for anybody, really. Okay. It's not, it's kind of like an emergency exit if you know to go around and know otherwise. To you, it would be a blueberry field. You wouldn't even know there was a road there. Okay. I just happen to be like own some land on it either side. Okay, I'm just thinking I may have covered that. We have a few people that have asked us to ask you things, so just bear with me while I take a look. Do you something? When I heard an interview, a person, they were saying it was the only way out. Sorry, let me reread that. Do you something? When I heard an interview, a person, they were saying it was the only way out. I knew right away the person didn't live on my road or was well informed of that area at all. They got shot in the arm, I think, and they said he wasn't aware because he's on the other road. He's not. It's interesting. I thought it was really interesting how he didn't know of any other road right. But yeah, it's interesting. But I knew he didn't. You know what I mean? Or sorry, by what people say when they live in that area. Yeah. So this is just a question from the Actually, she was hoping to attend. She's not able to. So she just wanted to know what kind of support you have received subsequent, whether or and did you and you don't have to go into detail. It's okay. It wanted to know, support-wise, what kind of support you have received. Or if you haven't, where did you see it lacking? Where could you have what could have been done better? Bernie and I talked about that. We were under the impression that we were inside, that all the supports were for the people that lost, someone died, and we fell silent. We felt, I can't speak for anyone else. We weren't first, of course. It would be the people that lost a loved one. Well, terror would be good. But we didn't know it was for us, and we didn't want to overstep that. It wasn't clear that there was any at first help for us inside who were still there. I mean, that's what I talked to Bernie, because I didn't realize I thought it was only for people, and then we discussed how, well, we saw them more every day, more than their families. But we didn't want to, we were very careful. I mean, people say, don't say anything. Don't say this. Don't say that. I didn't want to cause any problems for the families. Didn't want to take away from the families. I didn't want to, it's like you have no voice or anything. I did. We finally, some of us did go over to the people when Tom Taggart cleared all the people from the front and moved some of the stuff so we could get back and forth. And you didn't have to have all the people looking at you. I went over to Portapique Trauma Place, and that's when I first found out, when they say, we're waiting for you guys. We didn't know. We thought, we were under the impression it was for the immediate families, didn't want to take any support or anything from them. But I wasn't aware of anything at first. Nothing. How long was it before you became aware? How long time frame, roughly? Months, I think. They'd have it on record when I was there, but geez, I can't tell you off the top of my head, because it was more than a month anyway. 2, maybe 3. I don't know. Time frame. Okay. And you said you went to the Portapique Trauma Center. I was there. The Portapique Trauma Center. Interesting. I was there. I went to one in Onslow. It was also, but the Portapique one, they were good to talk to. They just give you, and then they give you a list of, I never used the list, trying to find someone that I couldn't find. Couldn't find? No, because I had trauma people there. I talked to at first, like different ones, which was great. And it was good to debrief. Ooh. Mm-hmm. And I work in wellness. I do a lot of stuff. Corrections? But you always need to have another, since, mm-hmm. They give you a list and you try to pick through. They were always trying to help me find someone. Well, I did find someone in Truro that was a trauma person who My experience was they had to agree to take me on. I had called that person who sets I called the person who sets up the trauma with the list and that, and they weren't on the list, but they were trauma informed there, and they said they would take me on, and they said I added his name to the list, and they just wanted his credentials. Okay, there's definitely stuff missing. And he agreed. He had agreed. Oh, okay, maybe I see. All right, somebody else outside. So when he called me for an appointment in Truro and I went, and then the second appointment, like it was the first appointment was just taking down whatever. And then the second one was he changed his mind and he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to send in his credentials. He said he was too busy. Oh. So I would have to do private insurance, but there was like 2,000 probably victims, and that he didn't want to send all this stuff in. He was too busy. So therefore he changed the rules of the game. I didn't trust him after that. I'm sorry, but I was like, geez, man, I'm trauma here, and now you want to do this work? My head's not into it, and now you want me to do the paperwork, and but it's not what you had agreed or that they were expecting, because they were expecting you send in your papers and that. Well, I'm too busy for that, which he was busy, but okay. Debriefing and then giving her a boot. I don't like the sounds of that. Debriefing? Okay. What do you know? Thank you. Will not see you again. I don't know. I didn't know what else he was going to have change halfways in the game. That's how I felt, because I thought we had set this up so we could continue, but then and then I just thought, well, I just didn't trust him after that. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to set something up. Ooh, give me one moment. One moment. Just give me a moment, please. Sorry. I don't want to be as taking breaks and things like that all the time. Used to, seeing a lot of people taking breaks, just whatever. Okay, so I think that's a little bit interesting. Portapique Trauma Center. So they had a special trauma center, and then it sounds like this lady was, quote, debriefed and then shafted. So there wasn't really anything to do with therapy, I'm smelling. Just what do you know? Elizabeth Montgomery. So what did you do after that? Talk to my doctor. I tried to find some other people, and then I'm dealing with blank. I just didn't know what else to do, or what else to go, where else to go. But a lot of other people want to pay a lot of extra money. They'll take you, and I just thought, okay, I'm going to concentrate on getting better. So that was it. So what about now? So what kind of support do you have in place now? I just have a crazy life. Friends, family, someone you can lean on. I have blank. People die in 2 years. I don't discuss Portapique with family, or they don't want to hear it. It's just too much for them. People don't want to hear it because they like they're dealing with COVID, and a lot of people have a lot of fears, and I'm blank. So I haven't searched anything out. I'm in blank right now and stuff. It's just I'm doing the wellness route. So I no, I don't have any supports. Okay. So I don't think I'm alone. I think there are others too. Just yeah. So no. It's not that easy to get support. So that sort of leads me to my next question. How could have this been done better? Communication was the thing between everybody. It was like the first time in Nova Scotia it happened, and it was like a circus. Well, God Almighty! I hope to God this is the last time. The people inside, sorry for my interlude, the people inside, we just didn't want to take away from the victims. We weren't first, of course. And you have a big crowd of people out there who are watching everything you do. I don't know, like, you got the news. Sometimes you've got to be careful when you're out there because they're all like filming and trying, hoping, I was kind of hoping it would settle down a bit, and then I could go across, or what, like I had to sneak out afterwards because, you know, and then people, like, you couldn't get rid of the people coming in. And we thought you always think you're going to be okay. And then they keep coming in, and people are attracted to that. I don't know. It would be nice. We had one. I don't really want to. We can go on the thing. Talk about that after if you'd like. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. We can. Yeah. What? What is that? What does that mean exactly? Can somebody help me? We can go on the thing? I don't really want to go on the thing. Oh, maybe it's the panel. or like to go in front of the commission. Yeah, that's fine. We can, yeah. Well, we'll sort of continue here until we're done. And then, yeah, whatever things you want to discuss after, that's fine. I guess I'm thinking about the support. I, I know you've always talked about the impact and little after. So you're a little ways out now. How has this impacted your daily life? If you're comfortable, it's amazing. It completely changes your life. You're never the same in so many ways. You don't even know until you get triggered. Blank, full sentence blank. All of a sudden, I was right back in it. Blank. Like everything was heightened. Everything, and I have to know my way out wherever I am. Pay attention to wherever I am. Hyper vigilant. Two things, right? Yeah, and I'm just trying to think, has it changed me a lot? People say it too about me. I didn't realize blank. I was shocked how it has affected me, actually, to tell you the truth, because I thought I had all, like, it didn't affect me as bad as I thought. But then as I was coming out of there, like being there, even being there, and like with people coming down, I didn't think my heart was going to go like that or anything like I it's like I had hypersensitive senses. To be outside, I can hear things, I can hear something, so I can't so I'd go against a tree, you can't see me. So I'm careful. I'm always got to know my ways out, no matter where I am. How many roads around me, this or that, it probably affects me a lot around people too. I'm not just I'm not around people anymore or nothing. I'm away. I can't blank. I used to be a very, very quiet person. Thought she was social. I would have to have, say, more maybe fearless. I don't know. Walking up the road, and everyone's dead. It's like you have to take it back. So I have strong faith. So I hear the drum. Blank. Happy to take a break now if you want some moments. Yeah. Would you like a moment? No, I'm okay. You sure? Just never talk about it. Because one of the family members I just always wanted to be around because that was where I was, like healing. So I got to see a lot. I was everywhere. So I got to see the families come. And one of the things they wanted to know was if the place was blessed and, all the properties. And nobody could tell them, but I could. It's like a lot of the pieces for a lot of, it's like I had a lot of the pieces for a lot of people. When they come in, they pick up their parents' stuff or whatever. I had all the info because I used to be a resource too for a lot of people, connecting them with things in the community. So I always have the ability. I would always have a list that I had done up for people when they come in, like, so But yeah, like I said, it changes you. You don't really know until sometimes you're talking about it or detached. It's like you're on a cycle and you start to go, do okay, then you go backwards. First, it's a lot of anger, and then you're okay. You're like, you're trying to, and then it's like you get stuck, and it's like freeze, and you're frozen. Everybody was in there. They were all at a different point of the wheel. They were all at a different point of the wheel. It's amazing. It's amazing how you meet someone, they're just hyper, then they're calm, then others were so detached. Do you know what I mean? So I've been on that wheel for a long time. Are you in touch with anyone else that still resides there? I was supposed to go down and see Bernie, just letting Aubrey know. Just told Mallory. That's as much as my in touch is. Everybody else wanted to move in there. It's all new, mostly. No, I haven't seen Leon since. Used to talk to him all the time. Blank. So I'd have to say no. Okay. It's different. So between my husband and I, it had a different effect. He was lucky that he was away because I don't know. He's in the military, right? So it's not always good to, if he had have been there full time with all that, probably active, everything else. So yeah, I just try to push it out of my mind, concentrate on getting well and healing, from my accident. So you just kind of went numb, everything. It's hard. Then you get a little bit of anger because you're right in there. It's like we had no voice. If you're asking what it was like too, we had no voice inside. I don't know. Is anybody else a little bit spooked by some of this? It's just me. Maybe it's because I've been up too long. Wheels and things. Maybe I just don't live in the world. I don't know. And you had to be there with this. Had that big sign put up trying to keep everyone out. We just want to draw more attention. We just want to draw more attention. Like people couldn't go back to their regular lives and try to move on. You couldn't move on. They kept you on a spin. It was like a spin wheel. Something I've learned from being on the inside that I didn't realize for any disaster, and still people still left there. I couldn't stay there, torment your mind, for me, anyways, because everybody was, yeah. Ooh. Wow. Thank you for sharing that very much. Do you have anything? No, I'm good. Okay, I think we've covered off the other stuff. So I think so too. Yeah, so I think so too. Yeah, so many questions written over the paper. Yeah, I'm just going to double check and make sure I've got everything. I hope that makes sense. I'm all over the place. Yeah, I just didn't realize that. You were great. it would bother me like that. I don't even know where that came from. I just have to allow these feelings here. This is Wayne. Don't like this. There's no controlling it. And little things can set you off and bring back emotions that you thought weren't there. Yes. And that's quite normal. And we can get into a discussion later with our mental health person to put you in contact with after we're done the interview. Okay? You know something, too? You asked me? We were helpless in there because nobody was hearing us to stay out, leave us alone. They didn't get the, and then the public would say, well, we have a right to know. We have a right. This and that. And they do, maybe. But when is time up? That was the hardest. That's because they kept us like they didn't realize, I mean, that's why maybe a tour would have been better for. That's what I said one time as a joke, because then they could move on. It wouldn't be like people sneaking in and doing what they did and pulling up alongside of us. So for my mental health and that, my husband just wouldn't leave me. And when I changed my mind, I wasn't going to sell. Like, I liked my place where I lived. I just fixed it up perfect. And then we had to move for my mental health and that. He just said, because I couldn't get away from it. He could. I couldn't move on. I got frozen in the cycle. There's a question I have for you. You're okay with it? Oh, yeah. Do you feel, this is the question, do you feel supported by the commission's process? Do I feel supported? Supported by the commission, the Mass Casualty Commission's process. How? I guess I was just wondering if you feel like we're doing what we're dial tone. Well, I guess I shouldn't have said that. What? What? Laughter. I wonder if that was a time limit or something. A timeout, or, yeah. Yeah, I know. So sorry about that. Do you want me to pause? No, I mean, I think it's fine. I think you're wonderful from my experience so far. Very welcome and very professional. Like, it's good to hear. Very, I've seen a lot of stuff, and you give us a voice. I felt you give us a voice. Like, that's my experience so far. I mean, I'm just sitting here and it's like someone else's life. And I think anybody could approach you and say anything, and like, you're very open. Yeah. Well, thank you. But that's my experience of this. Yeah. Is there any way we can do more as a commission? Do you see something we can do more as a commission? I don't really know everything that you do. I just know that you're taking, asking people things and that, and doing your job. So I don't know more. It's my first experience. I have no idea. I understand. I have no idea. When I write this up, I might. How could you, quote, how did you take that meeting anyway, end quote. But no, I don't know. You asked me how, not you, though, the difference would be in the people left inside somewhere, how they could do that different. Yeah. Well, and that's, that's the part of the reason why you're here. We're trying to hopefully put good recommendations forward. And so, how we can do things better in the future. Too, that some of the counselors, and that because this is my field too, is they can re-traumatize people if they're not experienced with complex trauma. So when you leave them, you're still in that. They haven't brought you out of that. So you can leave them to continue your day. Some of them will leave you in a pit hole. They don't realize, quote, I have 20 minutes left. I got to get you out of that. I got to bring you up and give you some positive cognitive behavior, end quote. Whatever. Like, they do a lot of that to you. But we know that's not true. You can do that. You can do that in a lot of things, but you didn't die. Yeah, we know that. But, like, for instance, if they didn't have, like, we have an interview right afterwards on TV, Good Morning or something, about the alerts. This is my biggest complaint because I don't know how long it takes to get down the road. Or, sorry, because I know how long it takes to get down the road. So somebody could have alerted somebody. Somebody would have, I know people in Wentworth wouldn't be dead. People say, well, but how, how would you know? Like, you know what I mean? You know how you do that? I didn't find for complex trauma, it might help some people. Maybe if you have more than one trauma, it makes a difference. I don't know. But I didn't find that. I don't know. It was just a mess. Like, I talked to one person and they said it was different talking to us. Those who have any type of wellness, mindfulness, or whatever are already doing a lot of stuff. You don't have to train them or teach them on the spot when you're counseling them. It was completely different than the ones who never had any kind of mindfulness, breathing exercises, or they did like yoga or anything. It was completely different. You had all these groups of people. So a lot of that stuff I'm talking about worked very well with them, but the others, not so much. But so it was great to have them there, though. Is it, what I'm hearing is there's a lot of room for improvement on different types of trauma. People would help. But I'm sure, like, this is unexpected, and you have a lot of people, there were great psychologists and cognitive behavior and all that. So what they could do and whatever, but I guess it's more in depth. I guess that's where you come in with the list and every, everybody's different with their traumas. It depends on what's in their background. You can damage more. It's just that I'm into that. So you could, like I said, when you're talking to somebody, I'm just thinking off of the top of my head here, just rambling. Yeah, that's okay. Because I thought about this too. If I was to, like, it is dry here. Yeah, it would be really cognizant. I would be really cognizant about the fact that, quote, I got many minutes, how many minutes with this person? Each person, I got 5 to see, whatever I got to talk to them about. I got to make sure maybe I have an appointment next time. I got to bring them out of, I got to bring out of them, I got to bring out of them before I let them in the door. In quote, it was great to have someone to talk to. So I can't really say anything negative, can I? Because it was great to have them there. You know, it was great for me just to have a few words with them because there was nobody that wanted to hear. But maybe if perhaps people are more specialized in the kind of help that people require in these events, maybe with previous trauma prior to, I would have to say, like the guy said, there was different types of people. Yeah. So that's a hard question because this is a band-aid when you have a place to go to, because you got to have someone to talk, debrief, and something. And then you got to, if someone gives you like a list, you got to go through all these people and you're like, oh my gosh. And not everybody deals with that type of trauma. Are we still on the thing? We are. But we can, if I'm done my questions, if you like, we can stop it and then we can keep talking if you like. So it's 1:05 and I'm going to stop the recording. Oh. Oh, that's just spooky. I don't even know what to say. I can't say it. I'm beyond words. Somebody's been speaking to her a lot, would be my impression. Oh, let's see what you guys have here. A lot of messages. Okay. Hey, Peter. She strikes me. I'm absolutely not going to say anything on. Yeah. There's something going on, like big time. She spies on everyone else, but she hides when she's spied on. Typical. if I speak just on what she said, it certainly sounds as though the stick with the tape was located underneath a whole bunch of stuff as she was raking. As to the psychology that's going on there, I'm not even going to touch that. And it's nothing on her, funnily enough. It's nothing on her. East Montrose Road, directly across from Brown Loop, she's referring to. Are you still here, Cindy? Because Joy was always a walk lady. Joy liked to go for walks. Excavator. And the other thing I noticed is that the road description doesn't match up at all with what I saw early on. And I think spoke about that way back when. Pull a rabbit out of the hat. Bernie Murphy. Yeah. I think that's Bernie. Is that the Bernie? Maybe Cindy knows. There was an incident in Highland Village a couple of nights after Buddy Abracadabra himself or something. Barricaded himself or something. Now, well, she said there's a lot of cameras down there. It's very insular community. Very insular. I think the rabbit and hat symbols are part of YouTube name. I don't know anything about rabbits and hats. RCMP probably kicked in their door. Yeah, the robbery, that kind of went in there to My Blueberry Road. Interesting. Why did she have to sell? She's so cut and dry. In what? I don't understand. So cut and dry. And I never did get a date when the stick was found. Nobody seemed to follow up on when this burnt club was found. Did anybody? She kind of said Orban didn't know the area. That was another thing. I don't know which Lisa she was referring to. Yeah, she was a large landowner. Her beach was beautiful until she removed all the driftwood off, which is highly illegal. Okay. Did she go to fake RCMP shrink? Yeah, but there's something else going on. The Portapic Trauma Center I'm very interested in that now. I'm wondering if that has anything to do with legacy. It doesn't sound good just because they quote debrief her. She used the word debrief twice, which is not a common word and not one that I would think would be in this, but it kind of just gives me the shivers all around. I'm not being judgmental. It's honestly, honest to God, it's not judgment of her. I just don't even know what to think. The commission, can the commission do more? This is my first experience with this. Ooh. I do feel very badly about all of it. I don't think I've all right, well, please, it's nothing about, it's just about finding the truth, and that's all. It's not about attacking people or anything like that. I'm sure all of you know that. There's a lot of people going down there, it sounds like, which is strange. I thought I'd heard nobody was going down there, but maybe I'm wrong. Really, as I said, insular, kept. Hello, what are you doing? What are you doing? Hopefully, my reading wasn't too bad. I'm not that great. Dial tone speaks volumes. Husband's in the military. Yeah, she's in corrections, it sounds like. Husband's in the military. Or was in corrections or something. Definitely in corrections at one point. RCMP, Bill, RCMP's house. Other RCMP, I knew about one there. Debrief is normally emergency first responders, cops, fire, cops after an event. Yeah, debrief is a very specific term. Military uses debrief. Anyway, please don't say, hurtful things and stuff like that, because but it was an interesting read. And if you have positive comments, please leave them, like insightful, not critical, not rude, attacking comments. Please leave them below. I might actually, yeah. If I see certain things pop up, I might. People are entitled to their own opinions, but it's not going to benefit anybody. It's like talking about other things. Anyway, okay, so there we go. And Look at that. If the commission had run on the time that it was supposed to, they would have finished 20 minutes ago. So, on that, I will bid you an adieu. And got 10 days to look into different things. The timeline, I think plotting the different pieces on the timeline are interesting. I probably need to have some food and think for a little bit. So God bless you all. God bless the 23. God bless everybody. And thank you. My heart goes out to a lot of people. God bless you all. God bless the 23.